Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Let's take a look at the headlines. A special project to reduce the impact of earthquakes in Trinidad and Tobago. The Prime Minister presents the children of Tobago with Christmas treats. And the 2013 Spirit of Sport Awards SOSA nominees are announced. Thank you for joining us. Prime Minister the Honourable Kamla Persad-Bissessar made her way to Tobago on Tuesday afternoon to greet the children on the island and present them with Christmas treats, all in the spirit of the Christmas season. The Prime Minister was accompanied by both MP for Tobago East and West, leader of the TOP, Ashworth Jack, was also a part of the Prime Minister's entourage. Patricia Nicholson reports.
Thousands of kids accompanied by their parents and guardians flocked to the Dwight York Stadium from as early as 1 p.m., all in the hopes of receiving toys from the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago as she hosted her 4th annual Children's Christmas Treat in Tobago. The event officially began at 3 p.m. and catered to children from ages 0 to 12 years. Whilst awaiting the Prime Minister's arrival, the kids were entertained by JJ and Friends.
Together we aspire, together we achieve, together we stand tall, together we believe. Trinidad and Tobago, be letting me overdo. If we can make it, we can make it, we can make it together. Come on,
And the 2013 Junior Soccer Monarch champion, Jeremy Rodriguez, much to the delight of the kids who could have been seen waving their banners left to right.
Many rivers flowed to this naked isle, bringing fair and pain, but also a brand new style. And of all these rivers that shape this land, two mighty ones move like a sculptor's hand. And today those hands are across the land and they're still landscaping.
Eventually, the Prime Minister arrived via helicopter and was greeted at the entrance by a number of children who were quite anxious to receive hugs and kisses from Mrs. Persad-Bissessar, as well as the Minister of Tobago Development and MP for Tobago West, Dr. Delman Baker, Minister in the Ministry of the People and MP for Tobago East, Vernella Aline Toppin, and leader of the Tobago Organization of the People, Mr. Ashworth Jack. The Prime Minister was then treated to entertainment, after which she gave her colleagues an opportunity to bring Christmas greetings to those gathered.
I just want to say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and from the Ministry of the People and Social Development, we're here to serve you.
Enjoy the Christmas time and let us see that we behave ourselves as good boys and girls all 365 days, so by Christmas time we can all celebrate with joy.
The Prime Minister then extended her wishes to the gathering.
All I want to say is Merry Christmas to all you boys and girls here in Tobago. Have a very blessed and a very great Christmas and have a better 2014. God bless you all. God continue to bless you here in Tobago and God continue to bless Trinidad and Tobago.
Herself and other ministers then delivered treats to the kids. Reporting from Tobago, Patricia Nicholson, News 4.
Well, while in Tobago to present gifts to the children at her annual Children's Christmas event, the Prime Minister was bombarded by the media with a number of questions, including her limited visits to the island after she had promised to visit Tobago more frequently.
Wish there were more of me. I wish I had more of me. I'm busy everywhere, as you can see. I mean, things happen unplanned and you have to be there, you have to go. I've spent a lot of time in Tobago, maybe this year not as much, because we were in midterm, the third year of government, there was a lot of work to be done, delivery, not in terms of just physical presence, but in terms of driving projects. Indeed, for this past year, I've spent a lot of time outside, inside. We had 4 elections, yours, I was here, and then we had 3 in Trinidad. So I apologize if I've offended anyone by not being here more, but I love Tobago, I love the people of Tobago, and as well.
The Prime Minister also responded to claims by the Chief Secretary that there has been little improvement regarding Tobago matters.
He's entitled to his opinion. I am not of that respectful view.
The Prime Minister also commented on the performance of the newest National Security Minister since crime still stands as a major issue in Tobago.
There's always room for improvement, as I say. Crime and the fight against crime remains a number one priority for my government. I have made changes, as you know, and whilst Minister is doing very well, there is more to do. There's always room for improvement. We cannot rest until we can bring down the murders down. I would like us to acknowledge, though, we are not doing it. That serious crimes have dropped. And when you said, well, yes, but there's a murder every day or two, and I have said before, everyone is a tragedy.
The Prime Minister pledged her government's commitment to the continued fight against crime in Trinidad and Tobago. More news after the break. Stay with us. The Ministry of Planning and Sustainable Development and the University of the West Indies Seismic Research Center are both collaborating on a special project to reduce the impact of earthquakes in Trinidad and Tobago. The project, the TNT Seismic Microzonation Project, aims to provide persons in the construction industry with key information needed when constructing buildings.
Through the Trinidad and Tobago Seismic Microzonation Project, engineers, planners and builders will be given maps containing detailed information on how the ground at a specific building site may behave during an earthquake. This information is currently not available in this country, and so the project will fill this gap. Delivering the feature address, the Honorable Botuari, Minister of Planning and Sustainable Development, admitted to not knowing the technical aspect of an earthquake, but noted his happiness for such a project. The project was funded by the Government of Trinidad and Tobago through the Ministry of Planning and Sustainable Development.
What I'm interested in is what this microzonation study will do in terms of what we need to do in terms of planning for any eventuality that might occur in Trinidad and Tobago. If you look at a map of Trinidad and Tobago between 2006 and 2012, you will see that the urban footprint of Trinidad and Tobago has changed dramatically, and even in the last 10 years. So what this means is that more people are living more closely together in more compressed areas of land space. And if you have an earthquake, a lot of buildings and a lot of people are going to be affected adversely. And therefore, we have to be concerned about that and what are the implications, therefore, for future development of the country.
Minister Tiwari also said that it was very important that data was available so proper decisions could be made regarding building and development.
The second thing is that we need to have the data about what is the potential or likelihood for earth movements and their likely impacts before we can make sensible decisions about planning and about development strategies. And this has implications not just for building houses or establishing communities or determining the height of buildings or the strength that those taller buildings must have. It also has implications for where you locate industry, what kind of industries you locate there, how you develop communities, what do you connect in relation to living communities with industrial opportunities, etc. And these are very important issues and have implications in a disaster situation.
Speaking earlier, Dr. Richard Robertson, Director of the University of the West Indies Seismic Research Center, noted that Trinidad and Tobago was vulnerable to earthquakes and as such, much planning and preparation was needed.
In the context of sustainable development and moving forward as a nation, we need to factor that into any kind of planning decisions that we make. And while we at the Seismic Research Center have been producing seismic hazard maps for as long as we've been around, in fact, one of the critical things in terms of ensuring that we can mitigate the impact of these kinds of events, earthquakes, is that we need to understand better what is the nature of the ground that we build on. And one of the things that's critical in terms of the project that we're involved in now, what it will provide is information that would allow people who are involved in the construction industry, people who are involved in planning, to have information that could help to guide them in terms of making sensible planning decisions. Decisions that would ensure that the buildings that we construct and the development that we undertake in Trinidad and Tobago is one that is more likely to be sustainable, is one that is more likely to be resilient to the effects of ground shaking, which is what earthquakes do.
Felicia Wilson-Mull, News 4.
Minister of Tertiary Education and Skills Training, Senator the Honorable Fazal Karim, is lauding the contribution of teachers to the nation's development. He heaped the praises as he attended Carapachamo East Secondary School's retirees function.
Senator Karim, speaking to the media at the event, says it was important he attended the school's retirees function. No one understands better the difficulties faced by a school teacher on a daily basis than Minister Karim, especially since he spent more than 20 years of his life as a teacher filling those very shoes. Minister Karim says the life of a teacher transcends into any other task done by teachers.
Today really is a very memorable occasion because a number of my colleagues are retiring. They have reached the age of 60. And had I stayed on in teaching, I too would have been present here as one of the celebrants for retirement. But I'm so honored to be back at this school. I served here as a teacher. I served here as Dean of Discipline, as Head of Department of Business Studies and Home Economics. But also this venue and this location molded me into what I am today. And it contributed significantly to my performance as a minister.
Minister Karim says in his position as Minister of Tertiary Education and Skills Training, he is now able to see and fully appreciate the contribution to society that he and other teachers would have made. He adds, these contributions are priceless, particularly as it teaches children valuable lessons such as the importance of discipline and the ability to rise above adversity and negativity.
We are also molding and fashioning very young and impressionistic minds. And I think that to me is a very significant contribution that all of us as teachers would have made. And everywhere we go, and these students would have graduated from this very hall where we had our graduation functions. We remember us very fondly. I think what they remember as well is that as a Dean of Discipline, I was very disciplined, and I required a lot of discipline from them. In fact, when I stood here in the hall, we would have had 1,200 students lined up here, and no one will speak when we are speaking. You know, we demanded respect, and we gave them as well their attention and their respect. I want to take this opportunity as Minister of Tertiary Education and Skills Training to say how very pleased I am to have worked here for very many years, to congratulate all my colleagues who have worked with us, but very importantly, to congratulate them and to compliment them for the contributions they would have made to the human resource development of Trinidad and Tobago. A lot of things have been said about these schools, and many people wrote off some of these schools. But we have students and graduates out of this school who are lecturing in universities abroad, who are professors.
Minister Karim is urging present-day teachers to exhibit trustworthiness and recognize the great responsibility given to them in nurturing what is supposed to be the future of the nation. Gregory McBurney, News 4.
Sport is up right after the break. Stay with us. The 2013 Spirit of Sport Awards presentation ceremony is scheduled for December 28th. And at the gala fair, the nation's top athletes and others will be awarded with the coveted SOSA. The SOSA nominees were announced on Tuesday. Here's Wayne Cunningham with the details.
National badminton player Kemasha Robertson did the honors of announcing the nominees for Coach of the Year, which featured a top-class field.
I'm pleased to announce the nominees for the Spirit of Sport Awards 2013. In the category Coach, the nominees are Glenn Francis, Stephen Hart, Franz Huggins, Dr. Ian Hippolyte, and Anna Roberts. Yes, I said Anna Roberts.
The minister quickly got over his elation and gave the rationale for a new category for this year's awards, the Light Sport Participant of the Year.
You understand that we do not get the idea that each and every one of us who are born in Trinidad and Tobago must be given that opportunity to succeed. You now have live sport fellas who are on the street, who were looking to rob, who were looking to put on a work, they can now sit down, dress up, shake hands with Dylan Carter or George Bovell or J. Hugh Gordon or Dexter St. Louis or Chantal Ince or any of our great Cleopatra Borrell Brown, any of our athletes. They can sit down and rub shoulders. That alone has lifted their self-esteem and shown that they belong to Trinidad and Tobago. So when you hear live sport and you see the talent coming out, understand what it is doing and where we are going.
Here is Adrian Raymond with the nominees.
I will read the finalists for the live sport participant of the year. Mr. Marlon Pascal out of Montdor, Mr. Michael Bones of Miaru, Hayden George of Carenage, Che Gordon of Pleasantville, and Sidney Friday of Labrie. We will meet these young men on the 28th of December right here for the Spirit of Sport Awards, where we'll have a special category dedicated to live sport, and one of these young men will be named the Live Sport Participant of the Year.
Distance runner Richard Jones had the nominees for the two big categories.
In the category Male Athlete, the nominees are George Bovell, Dylan Carter, J.U. Gordon, Sunil Narain, and Justine Phillip. In the category Female Athlete, the nominees are Kabina Alexander, Cleopatra Borrell, Marissa Dick, Alina Edwards, and Chantal Ince. And finally, in the category Sport Performance, the nominees are George Bovell, Dylan Carter, Chantal Ince, J.U. Gordon, and Justine Phillip. Thank you.
There were nominees in 16 categories announced on the day, and SOSAs presented in 8 categories. The awardees are School Performance of the Year, St. Joseph Convent, Port of Spain, Astrid Casimir. Physical Education Educator of the Year, Lucia Nero Giles of St. Joseph Secondary. Community Coach of the Year, Cedric Hazelwood of Laventil United Sports Club. Community Group of the Year, San Fernando Sports Academy, Preston Nanan received. Community Team of the Year, Magic Community Boxing Gym, Dimitri Stroud and Timothy Daly. Sport for a Social Cause, the Just Because Foundation, KDK Walk Against Pediatric Cancer, Noel Joseph receiving. Junior Female Athlete of the Year, Jasha Degans, Table Tennis, and Junior Male Athlete of the Year, Dylan Carter, for swimming. The audience then got a taste of the live sport quartet.
Live on in time, forever, 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 forever. And those dreams, you want it on your heart, and I'll do whatever it takes. Oh, yeah. Follow true, with the promise I made. Oh, yeah. Put it all on the line.
The Grand Sosa Award Show will be held on the 28th of December 2013 from 6 p.m. at the Queen's Hall in Port of Spain. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
More news right after this. The world recently commemorated World HIV/AIDS Day on December 1st, which is observed on an annual basis. Now, the theme for this year's observance is Shared Responsibility, Strengthening Results for an AIDS-Free Generation. Tobago commemorated the day with a week of activities, including free and rapid HIV testing.
Results for HIV tests in Tobago can be given in the space of 15 to 20 minutes, and the testing is done free of charge at various health centers across the island, as well as certain events. The tests are done privately, and the patient's information remains strictly confidential, no matter the location. Asked how persons are reacting to the free and rapid testing, this is what District Health Visitor attached to the Canaan Health Center, Althea Sharp Johnson, had to say.
Persons responding to HIV testing in Tobago varies. Sometimes it has to do with the season. You find around the carnival time or just after carnival or festive season, you would have an influx of persons, but it varies. 2 of the 3 centers, Canaan, Scarborough, and at Roxborough Health Center.
Mrs. Johnson, who is also an HIV tester, counselor and trainer, said more young persons are getting themselves tested now more than before. But with all the free testing and awareness taking place, she says persons are still very careless when it comes to the disease.
They are still having risk behaviors in relation to unprotected sex and then seek testing after, instead of, which it should be the other way. Seek testing first and then you can have your encounters after.
As a tester and a counselor for HIV/AIDS, Mrs. Johnson is responsible for counseling persons before testing them for the disease. She also lectures that same person on safe sex practices. She said once a person has tested HIV positive, she immediately sends them for treatment. At present, 3 health centers in Tobago offer free HIV/AIDS testing: the Canaan, Scarborough and Roxborough Health Centers. According to the latest statistics received from the Division of Health and Social Services Tobago, there are approximately 500 persons receiving care and treatment for HIV/AIDS in Tobago. But despite this, the document went on to state that people do not know or remember all the facts about how to protect themselves and others from HIV. In Tobago, over 98% of people with HIV were infected through sexual contact, and less than 1% of babies born to HIV-positive mothers have HIV. Altogether, it is approximated that 1,700 persons are living on the island with the disease, with a quarter of them unaware that they have it. Reporting from Tobago, Patricia Nicholson, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.